Hi everyone, I am Radhakrishna, lecturer in physics, Department of Physics and Electronics, Biviraj College, Vishnupur, Bhimavaram. I would like to express my sincere thanks and gratitude to our management principal Dr. CHV Srinivas Garu, MCA principal Dr. IRK Raj Garu, our vice principal CS Sachinaran Garu, our HOD BA Kiran Garu, and other our department members. They encourage a lot to provide video lectures, PPTs, and online classes for the students to improve their knowledge, communication skills, and technical skills. In this PPT, I would like to present the topics for first BSc first semester students, paper 1. In this paper, there are 5 units. The first unit is vector analysis. In this vector analysis unit, the important topics are scalar field, vector field, gradient of scalar field, physical significance of gradient, divergence of vector field, physical significance of divergence, curl of vector field, physical significance of curl, Stokes theorem, Gauss-Jevons theorem, Green's theorem, and problems. In physics, we have a large number of physical quantities such as distance, displacement, acceleration, speed, velocity, force, work, power, energy, time, etc. These quantities are classified into two types: scalar quantities and vector quantities. Scalar quantity: any physical quantity having only magnitude but no direction. The quantity is called scalar quantity. Examples: distance, speed, time, work, energy, etc. Vector quantity: any physical quantity having both direction and magnitude is called vector quantity. Vector quantities can be represented as a bar, b bar, c bar, etc. That means velocity vector is represented by v bar, force vector is represented by f bar, acceleration represented by a bar, etc. Examples: displacement, velocity, acceleration, force, etc. Now, scalar field. If a scalar physical quantity is assigned to each point in space, then we have a scalar field. The scalar field in 3 dimensions can be represented by a scalar point function phi of xyz. That means in vector analysis, we have two types of fields, scalar field and vector field. In first case, the scalar field. That means in the scalar field, every point is represented by scalar physical quantity. The scalar physical quantity can be represented as phi of xyz. Examples: the temperature inside a body, at every point the temperature is changes. That means heat flows from one point to another point in different directions. The temperature is a scalar quantity, scalar field. Another example of scalar field is density. The density at any point inside the body. And the another example is electric potential at any point in electric field. Now, the second type of field is vector field. When a vector physical quantity is expressed from point to point in the region of space by a continuous vector function a bar of xyz, then the region is called a vector field. That means in vector field, at every point, the vector point function changes in both direction and magnitude. Examples: velocity of rotating body about an axis, gravitational field intensity, electric field intensity, magnetic field intensity, etc. are the examples of vector field. Now we can convert scalar field into vector field or vice versa, and also one vector field into another vector field by using some mathematical operations. First of all, I would explain a scalar field is converted into vector field by using gradient. Gradient of scalar field. The gradient is a differential operator by means of which we can associate a vector field with a scalar field. Gradient of scalar field phi of xyz can be expressed as grad phi, that is equal to del bar phi, where del bar is a vector differential operator that can be expressed as I bar dou by dou x plus j bar dou by dou y plus k bar dou by dou z. When this gradient is operated on scalar field phi, we get gradient of phi, that is equal to grad phi, that is equal to del bar phi, that is equal to I bar dou phi by dou x plus j bar dou phi by dou y plus k bar dou phi by dou z. Del bar phi is a vector field. Examples of gradient of scalar field. The intensity of electric field E bar is the gradient of electric potential V with a negative sign, that is E bar is equal to minus grad V, that is equal to del bar V. The physical significance of gradient of scalar field. The gradient of scalar field phi is a vector whose magnitude at any point is equal to the maximum rate of increase of phi at that point. Now we can convert a vector field into a scalar field by using divergence operation. Divergence of vector field, that means the scalar or dot product of vector operator del bar with a vector field A bar is called divergence. Physically, the divergence of vector field at any point is defined as the amount of flux of A bar per unit volume diverging from that point. That is a scalar. That means divergence is a scalar. Divergence of A bar is div A bar, that is equal to del bar dot A bar, where del bar is a vector operator that can be expressed as I bar dou by dou x plus j bar dou by dou y plus k bar dou by dou z, and the vector A bar can be expressed as I bar ax plus j bar ay plus k bar az, where I bar, j bar, k bar are the orthonormal triad of unit vectors. Now del bar dot A bar is equal to I bar dou by dou x plus j bar dou by dou y plus k bar dou by dou z dot I bar ax plus j bar ay plus k bar az. On solving, we get del bar dot A bar, that is div A bar, is equal to dou ax by dou x plus dou ay by dou y plus dou az by dou z, that is a scalar quantity. Example of divergence of vector field. The divergence of current density J bar gives the amount of charge flowing per unit volume per second from a closed surface. Current density means the current flowing per unit area. Now, I would like to explain the physical significance of divergence. If V bar represents the velocity of a fluid, then div bar represents the rate of flow of the fluid at that point per unit volume. Fluid means it is either a gas or liquid. If the velocity of the fluid is V bar, then the divergence of velocity of the fluid represents the rate of flow of the fluid per unit volume. If div bar is positive, then either the fluid is undergoing expansion or the point itself is a source of the fluid, that is the density of the fluid decreases. If div bar is negative, then either the fluid is undergoing contraction or the point serves as a sink, that is the density of the fluid increases. If div bar is equal to 0, then the fluid entering and leaving the element is the same, that is there is no change in the density of the fluid or the fluid is incompressible. That means if the fluid is incompressible, its density remains constant. The vector satisfying the condition di v bar is equal to 0 is called solenoidal vector. That means v bar is solenoidal vector. Or if divergence of vector field a bar is 0, then the vector field a bar is a solenoidal vector. We can convert a vector field into another vector field by using mathematical operation of curl. Curl of vector field. If a bar is a vector function differentiable at each point of xyz in a region of space, then the cross product or vector product of operator del bar and vector field a bar is called curl of vector field. Curl of vector field is a vector quantity. Curl of vector field can be expressed as curl a bar, that is equal to del bar cross a bar, that can be determined by using a determinant I bar, j bar, k bar, dou by dou x, dou by dou y, dou by dou z, ax, ay, az. Curl of vector field can be defined by using line integral. I will explain the definition in the next coming slides. Now, the physical significance of curl. The general meaning of curl is rotation. When curl of vector field a bar is 0, then it means that no rotation is attached with vector a bar, and the vector field a bar is irrotational. If curl of a bar is non-zero, then it means that the rotation is attached with a bar, and the vector field a bar is called rotational. Examples of curl of vector field. If a rigid body in rotating motion with an angular velocity omega bar and with linear velocity v bar about an axis, then the curl of velocity vector is twice the angular velocity, that is curl v bar is equal to 2 omega bar. Another example is the curl of magnetic field intensity at a point in a magnetic field represents the current per unit area passing through that point. Now, in vector analysis, the integrals which are commonly used are line integral, surface integral, volume integral. That means vectors can be integrated by using three methods: line integration, surface integration, volume integration. Line integral. The integration of vector along a curve is called its line integral. Let PQ be a curve drawn between 2 points P and Q in a vector field A bar. The curve PQ is called open curve because it has starting point and ending point. The starting point of the curve is P and ending point of the curve is Q. Let dl bar be an element of length along the curve PQ at R, and let theta be the angle between A bar and dl bar. Now, the value of A bar dot dl bar, that is the dot product of vector field A bar and element dl bar, is equal to ADL cos theta, that is equal to dl into A cos theta at the point R on the curve, is equal to the product of element dl and the component A cos theta of A bar along the direction of dl bar. Then the total value of A bar dot dl bar for the complete curve PQ will be integral P to Q A bar dot dl bar, that is equal to integral P to Q A cos theta dl is called line integral of A bar along the curve PQ. The line integral is used to define curl of vector field. The curl of vector field is defined as the maximum line integral of vector field A bar around the boundary of a surface of unit area. Examples of line integral. If A bar represents the force acting on a particle in moving along the curve from P to Q, then the line integral of A bar gives the total work done by the force. Another example is if A bar represents the electric field intensity at any point, then the line rule of A bar represents the potential difference between 2 points P and Q. Now, I would like to explain another integration, surface integration. Surface integral. Consider a closed surface S in a vector field A bar bounded by a curve. Let ds be an infinitesimal element of the surface as shown figure. The surface element of area ds can be represented by area vector ds bar. Now, ds bar is equal to n cap ds, where n cap is a unit vector normal to the surface ds as shown in the figure shown in the previous slide. Let theta be the angle between a bar and ds bar. Now, a bar dot ds bar is equal to ads cos theta is called the flux of vector field a bar across the area element ds. Then, the total flux of a bar across the entire surface of area S is given by surface integral of, that is, double integral of a bar dot ds bar is equal to double integral of a bar dot n cap ds is equal to double integral of a cos dot ds. This is defined as the surface integral. Examples of surface integral. If a bar denotes the velocity vector of a flowing fluid, then the surface integral of a bar, that is double integral of a bar dot ds bar, represents the amount of fluid flowing per unit time normal to the surface. Another example of surface integral is, if a bar denotes the magnetic flux density, then the surface integral of a bar, that is surface integral of a bar dot ds bar, represents the magnetic flux normal to the surface. The third type of integration is volume integration, that is volume integral. Consider a closed surface S in space enclosing a volume V. If a bar be a vector point function at any point in a small element of volume dV as shown figure, then the integral triple integral of a bar dV is called volume integral of vector a bar over the volume V. Example, the volume integral of div a bar, that is volume integral of div a bar dV, gives the total flux of a bar coming out from the entire volume V. We can convert line integral into surface integral and vice versa, or surface integral into volume integral and vice versa by using two theorems, Stokes theorem and Gauss divergence theorem respectively. Now, I would like to explain Stokes theorem. Stokes theorem gives a method to convert a line integral into surface integral and vice versa. Stokes theorem states that the line integral of vector field A bar around a closed curve is equal to the surface integral of the curl of A bar taken over the surface S surrounded by the closed curve. That is, line integral of A bar dot dl bar is equal to surface integral of curl A bar dot ds bar, that is equal to surface integral of del bar cos A bar dot ds bar. Now, proof of Stokes theorem. Consider a surface S enclosed in a vector field A bar. The boundary of the surface S is a closed curve PQR in counterclockwise direction as shown figure A. That is, figure A shows a closed surface S having a closed boundary PQR in anti-clockwise direction. Figure B shows the entire surface is divided into a large number of small square loops in anti-clockwise direction. Figure C shows two such small area elements adjacent to each other, and also figure C shows the two surface elements having a common side PQ in opposite direction. Now, if you take the line rule of A bar around the curve PQR traced counterclockwise direction as line rule of A bar dot DL bar. On dividing the surface S into a large number of square loops, let the area enclosed by each infinitesimal small loop be ds. The vector area of the loop can be represented by ds bar. Let n cap be a unit vector normal to the surface element ds, and let theta be the angle between n cap and a bar. We know that the curl of vector field at any point is the maximum line integral computed per unit area along the boundary of the small elemental area at that point. So, the line integral of A bar around the boundary of the area ds is curl A bar dot ds bar. This applies to all surface elements. Hence, the sum of the line integrals of A bar around the boundaries of all the area elements is given by integrating curl A bar dot ds bar. That is, the surface integral of curl A bar dot ds bar, that is double integral of curl A bar dot ds bar, is the sum of the line integrals of A bar around the boundaries of all the area elements. This is the surface integral of A bar. It is clear from figure C that the line integrals along the common sides of the continuous elements mutually cancel each other because they are traversed in opposite directions. Now, the sides of the elements which lie in the periphery, that is boundary of the surface, contribute to the line integral. The sum of the line integrals on the boundary line is given by equation 2. This is also given by equation 1. Hence, the line integral of A bar dot dl bar is equal to surface integral of curl A bar dot ds bar, that is equal to double integral of del bar plus A bar dot ds bar. This is Stokes theorem. Gauss divergence theorem. Gauss divergence theorem gives a method to convert surface integral into volume integral and vice versa. Gauss divergence theorem states that the surface integral of the normal component of vector A bar taken over a closed surface S is equal to the volume integral of the divergence of vector A bar over the volume enclosed by the surface S. That is, the surface integral of A bar dot ds bar, that is double integral of A bar dot ds bar, is equal to volume integral of di over dv, that is triple integral of del bar dot A bar dv. Proof of Gauss divergence theorem. Consider a closed surface S of any arbitrary shape drawn in a vector field A bar as shown figure. Let the surface encloses a volume V. Now, the whole volume may be assumed to be divided into a very large number of cubical volume elements adjoining to each other. Consider a small cubical volume dV as shown figure. We know that divergence of A bar, that is div A bar, represents the amount of flux diverging per unit volume, and hence the flux diverging from the element of volume dV will be dV over dV. So the total flux of A bar coming out from the entire volume V can be obtained by taking volumetric of dV over dV. That is, tributary of dV over dV gives the total flux of A bar coming out from the entire volume V. Now consider a small element of area ds on the surface S, which is the surface of volume element dV. If the field vector A bar and outward normal n cap of the element are at an angle theta, then the normal component of A bar along n cap is given by A cos theta, that is equal to A bar dot n cap. The flux of A bar through the surface element ds is given by A bar dot n cap ds, that is equal to A bar dot ds bar. So the total flux of A bar through the entire surface S is given by surface integral of A bar dot ds bar. So equation 1 gives the volume integral of dV over dV. Equation 2 gives the surface integral of A bar dot ds bar. These two values gives same value. That means volume integral of dV over dV gives the total flux of A bar coming out from entire volume V, and surface integral of A bar dot ds bar gives the total flux of A bar coming out from the entire surface S. That means equation 1 and equation 2 gives the same value. Hence from equations 1 and 2 we get surface integral of A bar dot ds bar is equal to volume integral of dV over dV. This is Gauss divergence theorem. Green's theorem. Here only Green's theorem statement is given. Here proof of Green's theorem is not necessary. Green's theorem states that if phi and psi are the two scalar point functions such that these functions and their first derivatives are continuously differentiable in a region bounded by a closed surface S, then we have triple integral of phi del square psi plus del bar phi dot del bar psi dV is equal to surface integral of phi del bar psi dot ds bar. In this mathematical form, del square is an operator called Laplacian operator. Del bar is vector differential operator. Del bar phi and del bar psi are the two vectors, even though phi and psi are scalar point functions. This is the first form of Green's theorem. That is, volume integral of phi del square psi plus del bar phi dot del bar psi dV is equal to surface integral of phi del bar psi dot ds bar is the first form of Green's theorem. The second form of Green's theorem can be written as volume integral of phi del square psi minus psi del square phi dV is equal to surface integral of phi del bar psi minus psi del bar phi dot ds bar. Green's theorem can be proved by using Gauss divergence theorem. In vector analysis, so many problems are there, but here I would like to explain only few important examples. The first example is, if r bar is the position vector of a point, then the values of grad r and grad 1 by r can be calculated as grad r is equal to r bar by r, that is equal to r cap, and grad 1 by r is equal to minus r cap by r square. In this problem, r bar is the position vector of a point that can be expressed as r bar is equal to I bar x plus j bar y plus k bar z. R is equal to modulus of r bar, that is equal to square root of x square plus y square plus z square. Now grad r is equal to del bar r, that is equal to I bar dou by x plus j bar dou by y plus k bar dou by z of square root of x square plus y square plus z square. On solving, we can calculate grad r. Now the second example is, if r bar is the position vector of a point, then the value of div r bar and curl r bar can be calculated as div r bar is equal to 3 and curl r bar is equal to 0 bar. Here also r bar is equal to I bar x plus j bar y plus k bar z. Div r bar is equal to del bar dot r bar is equal to I bar dou by x plus j bar dou by y plus k bar dou by z dot I bar x plus j bar y plus k bar z. On solving, we get div r bar is equal to 1 plus 1 plus 1, that is equal to 3. Similarly, curl r bar is equal to del bar plus r bar, that is equal to determinant of I bar, j bar, k bar, dou by x, dou by y, dou by z, x, y, z. On solving the determinant, we get curl r bar is equal to 0 bar, that is a null vector. The third example is, if psi is a scalar point function and a bar is a vector point function, then the values of div grad psi and div curl a bar can be calculated as div grad psi is equal to del bar dot del bar psi is equal to del bar psi, and div curl a bar is equal to del bar dot del bar plus a bar, that is equal to 0. Now another example is, if phi is a scalar point function at a point, then the value of curl grad phi can be calculated as curl grad phi is equal to del bar cross del bar phi is equal to I bar dou by x plus j bar dou by y plus k bar dou by z dot I bar dou phi by dou x plus j bar dou phi by dou y plus k bar dou phi by dou z. This can be expressed in determinant form as I bar j bar k bar dou by x dou by y dou by z dou phi by dou x dou phi by dou y dou phi by dou z. This determinant can be evaluated as curl grad phi is equal to 0 for a null vector. Now the last example is, if a bar and b bar be two vector point functions in a region of space, then the values of curl a bar cos b bar and curl a bar can be calculated as curl a bar cos b bar is equal to del bar cross a bar cos b bar is equal to a bar div b bar minus b bar div a bar, and curl a bar is equal to del bar cross del bar cos a bar is equal to grad div a bar minus del square a bar. These two problems can be solved by using vector triple product a bar cross b bar plus a bar. The reference books used to prepare this PPT are BSc Physics Volume 1, Telugu Academy, Hyderabad; Unified Physics, Mechanics and Properties of Matter by Dr. S.L. Gupta and Sanjeev Gupta, J. Prakash Nath and Co., Meerut; and Fundamentals of Physics Volume 1, Resnick, Holiday and Crane, Wiley, India, 2007 edition. I hope this PPT on vector analysis is very useful to you to understand the subject and also to write examination well. Thank you.